Today is the topic is hard-earned or Bashert. You know Bashert? Anybody here come across the term Bashert? You've heard that before? Yeah? Bashert means like preordained, or it's meant to be, like we say in English. Sometimes it's meant to be. It's meant to be can be taken in many ways. Some people take it's meant to be as if there's nothing to do because it's meant to be. But obviously that's not the implication, because if it's meant to be and you're here, that means you have to do something. It's not just going to happen. But then obviously the question comes up. It's meant to be, but I got to do. So how do you have the balance between doing and meant to be, right? So that's the topic of hard-earned and the Bashert. And obviously this is a continuation of what we learned until now, because this is the practical implication of that contradiction, quote unquote, that we have seen time and time again between nature, which would be hard-earned, and Hashem and Bashert. Many ways how we express the same sentiment, which is Bashert means to say there's something else besides me. How do we balance those two? So we can balance them we have to balance them in our mind and our mindset, and we have to balance them in our behavior pattern, which is how this plays out, hard-earned and Bashert. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. Okay, let's bring down some sources. How the Torah, the Torah is very specific in its wording, and interestingly enough, the way the Torah words and describes the concept of working, of earning a living, it's pretty meticulous, and it needs a little bit of an explanation in why it chooses certain words to express certain ideas. So there's a pasuk that says Yegia kapecha kisoichel. Yegia kapecha kisoichel means, if we loosely translate that would be the sweat of your palms you shall eat. Well, obviously, yeah, you sweat before you eat. Well, doesn't seem like anything novel that's being expressed in this pasuk. And Chassidus comes along, and Chassidus has its highlighting the word kapecha, your palms, and it says as follows: Yegia kapecha, v'lo yegia samoyach. It should be the sweat of your palms, but not the sweat of your mind. 1 second. That's the implication here. So the simple implication is, and let's just take this simply, and then let's try to understand this. Simple implication that we're trying to convey a message to a person, not only to work, but how to work. And how to work should be with your palms. Shouldn't be with your mind. Shouldn't be overcome. It shouldn't take it. You should be the one using your palms, and not that it's your mind and you're obsessed and you're just overwhelmed with what you do. This is very, they say some things are good for the books. When it comes to practice, how exactly does that play out? What do you mean? Obviously, the first question you're going to ask, what do you mean? If I am meant to think, which I am, a robot can use their palms, or it's not even palms, it's automatic, because there is no thought pattern that has to be put into it. But it's yegia, there's a sweat involved, there is an effort, and that effort starts with the head, with the strategic thinking. So how do you expect me not to have mind? What do you mean my mind shouldn't be? My mind is involved. Where is my mind not involved when I'm human and I'm doing something because I decided and because I put myself into it and because I think this is going to bring me the consequences that I would like to see? So obviously my mind is there. It's nice to say your mind shouldn't be there. And people tell someone, don't worry about it. What do you mean don't worry about it? I care, so I worry. I thought about it. I came to this. So of course it's in my mind. What are you trying to tell me it's not in my mind? Obviously there's a practical, achievable message that's within these words. The mind, the hands. Okay. So that's one source, if you wish. I call it kernels, diamonds that we have to somehow polish and tap into the richness of what these sayings are. A lot of Chassidic sayings are very deep. They have a very deep message behind them. We have to somehow allow ourselves to tap into them. There's another saying which is also on the same lines, and that is the pasuk says, "Sheishis yomim tavoid ubayom hashvi tishbais." 6 days a week you should work, and the seventh day, Shabbos, you should rest. Seems like very simple pasuk. 6 days work, Shabbos. So the commentaries ask, Chassidus emphasizes this question. Just say the seventh day you should rest. Obviously the 6 days you work. Just say the seventh day is Shabbos and you rest. Why do you have to tell me 6 days to work? Aha. He's trying to tell me how to work. You should be with the Shabbos, that's the seventh. What do you say? It's telling me how to work. But there's a Shabbos, which is the seventh, and the 6 days is 6 days, and the seventh. It's trying to not only, in other words, the message of the pasuk is not only about the seventh day, but it's also about the 6 days. Because the seventh is a continuation of the 6, and it changes the meaning of the 6. Now this has to be understood. What am I trying to tell a person? And again, what's Shabbos? Resting, letting go. The whole idea of Shabbos is not only letting go of your hands to work, but your mind to work. The halacha on Shabbos is that a person is not even supposed to think about business, which is why it's not like vacation, because, well, vacation should be that way. Many times it isn't that way. But the real concept of rest means to say it's totally not in your psyche, not in your thought, not in your speech. Shabbos, your thought is different, your speech is different, and your action is different. Because it's really set aside from the 6 days. Sometimes, what's the difference between number 6 and number 7? 6 is a pattern, is a system. In Kabbalah, 6 is the 6 days of the week. 7 means it's out of the system. So it's not like 5 and 6 to 6 and 7. 5 and 6 is, one leads another. In the words of our previous classes, the gap that exists between the student and the teacher, that's very difficult to bridge, that's between 6 and 7. There's a huge gap between 6 and 7. Shabbos is set aside. It's a whole different day. In other words, if you sleep at night and you're not working, that's not Shabbos. That's resting so you can work better the next day. That's not what Shabbos is. Shabbos means you don't have to work. It's going to happen. 6 days a week, you have to make it happen. On the 7th day it happens. It's a whole different idea. 6 days, it's up to me to make it happen. 7th day, that's Hashem's day. He's going to make it happen. Remember the mun in the Midbar? Are you familiar with the mun? There was a story in the Midbar that the Jewish people had mun. They were sustained from Hashem. It's called the bread of heaven. Shabbos is like the bread of heaven. In other words, Hashem is telling us, 6 days? Sorry, you got to do it. 7th day is on me. 7th day is on me. That's, it's the person that's on me. Don't worry about it. So it's not don't worry in the sense of some kind of illusionary, just don't worry because he's in charge. It's not in your response. It's like delegating. Okay? Shem says, look, I'm giving you 7 days a week. 1 day is mine. I'm delegating 6 to you. The 7th day is mine. I created you. I'm going to take care of it. So this it's a huge gap between 6 and 7. What are we telling a person? Even the 6th, I want you to have a different kind of working. Remember, there's a 7th day that I take care of. I want you to change the way you look at the 6th. Again, it's a second source that's highlighting some kind of new way how we should conduct our day-to-day life. What does this mean? So let me highlight the question. Okay? Let me summarize what we've seen over here. I want to share with you the sources so you see how this is not an isolated topic. It's a very central topic, extremely central. It has to do with Shabbos. It has to do with Bashert you're going to be hearing when it comes to parnasa, livelihood, when it comes to health, and when it comes to Bani Chaim Uzaini, children, marriage, etc. So we say the word Bashert. The person's soulmate is Bashert. We say person's livelihood is Bashert. So Yom Kippur, everything is given, Bashert. We're going to get into that also later. This is a major topic in Jewish thought.
Did you say the word destiny of the?
Yeah, destiny would be
right?
would be the word for Bashert. Although I don't know how that translates in English in the sense of carrying the real message of what Bashert means, if the word destiny is actually the accurate definition or description.
So Bashert is Yiddish or Hebrew?
Bashert is Yiddish.
Right?
Yeah. It's a Yiddish term. Destiny would be the loosely translated way how we would express that in English. But the more we're going to see this idea, the more you'll have a different feeling and understanding of what the word destiny really means. So again, I put it in number one, number two. Number one, number two on the handout. These two sources, and I'm highlighting this idea of the 6 days. Right? Work is not something that we understand on our own how we're meant to work. Yeah, you can say work with your hands. There's a message here how to work with your hands. 6 days a week work. There's a message here how you're expected to work. Right? So it's not just the difference between the way the 7 days a week cycle is set, the way Hashem set it, and the way one would understand it without Hashem instructing us in this pasuk is not only on the 7th day, but also on the 6 days. Specifically on the 6 days. That's where you're going to see the major difference of Shabbos. Shabbos doesn't only, the Gemara says, Shabbos blesses the other days of the week. It's not only the 7th day, it's the other days also that are somehow being swallowed up in this aura of Shabbos. They're being changed, they're being transformed, they're being redefined. Because we have a Shabbos, we have a different 6 days. It's not a regular 6 days. What is that? Okay. So now we have a question. So in order to understand this question, we're going to go back a second. We're going to go back in history. Back to the story of the money in the Midbar, the desert. So the Jewish people had a 40-year period when they went out of Egypt, went out of Mitzrayim, where Hashem sustained them. And let's think a second. What happened then? It sounds fantastic, but it could also be a little bit of a spoiling process that Hashem put us through, which can be counter-beneficial. I mean, when you give a child an open credit card, and you say, go ahead, spend it the way you want, you're going to have a spoiled child. You're going to have a child complaining and fetching. You're going to have an unhappy child. So why did Hashem do that to us? He took us out of Mitzrayim. We were slaves. He gave us a Torah. And He's supposed to bring us into the land of Israel. Boom! He throws us into the desert for 40 years. He gives us a time, it's like a teenage time. You don't have to work. You're sustained from heaven. Water you have from the well of Miriam. Clothes just, the Medrash says that they didn't have to even wash their clothes. They grew with them. It just happened that it's on. You grow, the clothes grow. Fantastic stuff were happening in the Midbar. There was zero effort of the Jews to somehow make a living. They didn't even know what the word make a living means. They had no clue what it means. Everything was given to them from Hashem. Why did Hashem do that? It's cruel to do that. They're going to be going into Eretz Yisrael soon. They're going to have a culture shock. They're not going to know what hit them. And you know what? They were afraid of it. They were actually afraid of it. The story of the Meraglim shows that. They were very afraid of hitting reality. Very similar to a teenager hitting life. Very, very similar. They were shocked. They were scared. What are we going to do? We're going to have to work for a living? we're going to have to actually plow the land. We don't want to. We want to stay in the midbar. It's so good. We'll stay in mommy's home. Mommy pays the bills. Why do we have to go on our own? So why did Hashem do it? Hashem is the ultimate teacher. Why did he do that? That's question number one. Question number two. Obviously, there's a lesson. There's a message here. Major message. Question number two is, in the midbar, in the desert, we find a seemingly contradicting theme. On one hand, Hashem is providing. And He provides to an extreme extent. It was awesome. Food, clothing, every taste they wanted they had in the month. Whatever they imagined, it was amazing. Protection with the clouds. Everything. Weather. Even from the snakes on the ground were killed for them. Everything. GPS. Everything. On the other hand, Hashem gave him the man, and he had a little bit catch. There was a little catch. If you're a tzaddik, you get it at your doorstep. But you have to go outside and pick it up. If you're not such a big tzaddik, you gotta walk a little bit further. And if you're really not, behaving well, then you gotta walk like half a mile outside. I don't care. If I'm not a tzaddik, then maybe take away the taste. Maybe don't give it to me. The whole concept of the midbar was spoiling. You're giving everything. So what are you making me walk a little bit? You can't have a FedEx deliver it to my door overnight and just deliver it in my dining room? I mean, you have to have me walk a little bit. What are you trying to say with the fact that I have to? You really think the Russia is gonna walk and somehow now he earned it, right? I mean, what happened over here? What are you trying to convey with this concept of walking or not walking? What's your whole idea over here in the middle was spoiling, which is giving it because. And now you're having us walk. What's the idea of walking?
It takes you out of your lethargy.
What?
It takes you out of your lethargy.
Well, think of what's going on. The Jews in the midbar, you know what it's like? I'll tell you what it's like. It's like a child who calls up his mother in college. Ma, I need some money. No problem. I'm going to give you a open credit card. Pay what you want. But you have to walk a block to get it. If you're giving an open credit card, then you're the kind of mother that spoils. And you're not the kind of mother that teaches lessons to children. If you're giving an open credit card, you need a therapist while you're giving an open credit card to your child. The concept of having your child walk is like teaching your child that they should actually earn it. They should walk a little bit. You're not doing anything in any way that's demonstrating that you're the kind of mother that teaches and educates a child. Look, you're giving them open credit card. So just deliver it to their home if you're already doing that. Deliver it to their house. What are you trying to do with this walking? I mean, who are you fooling? You're trying to tell your friends that you're really teaching your child? You're not teaching your child. You're giving them an open credit card. That's simply spoiling them. So what's the idea of walking?
So I think the walking, can I say?
Yeah.
So I think like in the desert.
Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you said that you're never gonna really be satisfied with something that's given to you. It doesn't necessarily make you happy.
Right.
Okay, well you want more, go again. So in other words, this is not okay. You're gonna eat it. It's easy for you. But if you think that you can just continue having more and more of this, it's gonna require more effort on your part.
Is that real effort? That's my question. If you want to make a system of, if the word effort should go with what you get. You know what? If you don't behave, you're not going to get the same thing. You're not going to get an open credit card. You're going to get $10. That's where effort goes. There's delivery and there's substance. See, if you're trying to teach a child something, then you teach them in substance, not in delivery. Delivery is it's like a mother that tells a child, I'm going to give you a national amount of what. I'm going to put it in the dining room. Take it from the kitchen. I don't care. I'll take it from the kitchen. I'm not going to change my behavior. So I'm going to have to climb the cupboards and take it out of the cupboard and say, you're putting it on the kitchen table. Big deal.
Maybe.
You're teaching. I'm saying.
I got it. It really doesn't teach anything.
It doesn't teach anything.
But it's not as comfortable.
You're right. I
But
agree.
it's not as comfortable.
You're right. But if you want it, but it's like a weird.
Yeah, little.
It's an awkward way of teaching. You're giving everything, and then you want to putting it in the clothes as if you're teaching. You're gonna walk effort. Really, is that effort?
No.
The Rosh is laughing all the way down there. He's like, okay, I'm getting it. I don't have to change. I'll walk. Okay, I'll walk a half a mile. I don't care.
Maybe it
I'm
wasn't.
getting the same thing as the other guy.
Maybe it wasn't about the walking. Maybe it was about getting outside and like seeing nature and the effect that would have on the person's soul. Because the Tzaddik already had that vision like in his soul, so maybe he didn't have to get out and like remember.
Saying
I don't know.
The walking itself would be some kind of teaching experience.
Yeah, like just being out there and seeing that it's a new day, and I don't know, maybe.
You can again. Let's try to translate that into a child. Translating that into a child, the mother would be saying the child has to go to the next door neighbor and pick up something, or go to the cupboard and pick it up. Is that there? Perhaps can be a hope. That's a hope. I can hope that maybe he's going to bump into someone that's going to teach him something. Perhaps, but he's not in that mindset that he's going to. You know, you only bump into people who you want to bump into, in a sense. You only bump into the messages you want to see. The child is not behaving properly. If you want to force him to change, you've got to change substance, not only delivery. So yeah, it could be nature is nice, you know, but really what was going on over here is there has to be a little bit of a message, delivery, not substance. That's what I'm highlighting. Delivery and not substance. Hashem was not changing the substance. He wanted to show them everything comes from him, and I'm going to give you everything. But yet delivery, walk a little bit. What's going on?
Well, I think that he is telling the people of Israel that there's different kinds of people. Because I need to see why is it he's getting the bread right on his spot. In other words, I don't know if it's really doing something by walking the half a mile, but I can see that in the eyes of Hashem, I'm a different kind of person.
So why doesn't that difference express itself in substance? Again,
Yeah, why that God doesn't give him less?
Yeah.
Because he believes in his potential. I don't know, right? I can't.
If you believe in potential, then don't change the delivery either.
I don't know.
Okay, very good. That's the question that we have.
You have to get up out of your tent where you've been sitting.
We teach in substance, right? Substance is where we teach, because that's where it hits home. Delivery is usually aside. We
Why?
teach in
Tell
substance.
us why. Why?
Huh?
Do we know why?
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
there-
You gotta give an answer. You wanna know the answer?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
We've got to walk around the corner first.
Okay. So the idea is like this. When the Jewish people left Mitzrayim, they were heading into Eretz Yisrael. They left Egypt and they're heading into Israel. They went through a 40-year therapy in the midlife. It's therapy. It wasn't spoiled. Hashem will either teach them how to behave when they go into Eretz Yisrael. Think to yourself a second. These Jewish people, they just came from a time where Hashem provided everything. And they're going to be going into a land where they have to make it on their own. A huge culture shock. It could be a land where you don't even see that Hashem is involved in what you're doing. Hashem wanted to teach them something. And this was a teaching process throughout the Midrash. He wanted to teach them how everything comes from him. Everything comes from him. And yet, there's still a need for them to do something. But whatever they're going to do is not because they're going to be changing a strategic part in what's happening. It's technical. Whatever you're going to do is technical. Don't ever come along and think that what you're doing is the world is dependent on what you're doing. And I'm going to explain what I'm saying. Hashem is basically setting the ground for the parameter of what it means to work. Working is going to be in the delivery realm and not in the strategic realm. And I'm going to explain what this means. Hashem in the Midbar was setting the ground for our consciousness, for how we should think as we enter Eretz Yisrael. Remember, working, the 6 days of work, is not strategic. It's part of delivery. You are going to have to work for something called delivery, but it's not a strategic decision that you're going to be doing. And I'll give an example from the time before Egypt to the time of Egypt. Okay? Give an example that I'll be able to demonstrate what Hashem was trying to change. What kind of mindset was he trying to change? So in the history of the world, we have something called the Dor Enosh. It was the first generation of idol worshippers. What is an idol worshipper? Think about it. Hashem created the world. How can you have an idol worshipper? Imagine Adam and Eve. They saw Hashem. A few generations later, there's already Dor Enosh. And they're already what we call idol worshippers. What do you mean idol worshippers? They worship the sun? They know Hashem created the world. Zaidi was around. Zaidi's around. Zaidi can tell you. He was the first one, and he knows it. There's no one before Zaidi. So, I mean, obviously there's Hashem created. So what were they thinking? How did it start? How did it come into being? What does it mean that you can say, I'm worshiping the sun? What does that mean? And it's explained. You know what they were thinking? Beautiful explanation. Say like this. The Dor Enosh, which is the first generation of what we call idol worshippers, they said like this: Hashem created the world. Of course, we know Hashem created the world. We're not oblivious to that. Of course, we know that. But here's the thing: He created the world, and every administration has ministers. Okay, you know, it's almost like, imagine a person creates a business strategy, and the business strategy is sound. This is going to make money, but you just have to pray for one thing: there should not be a Katrina. There should not be any major natural disaster that can make the oil markets go down, and then everything changes. All the dynamics of this business plan is based on normal growth and the normal pattern of the markets the way it is today. But I can't predict any kind of catastrophe that would just shut down the whole system, and I can't build on that. I just can't build on that kind of unanticipated. So just pray that God should stay out of the universe and let everything run the way it runs. That's technically what a real businessman prays for. A real businessman prays, God, stay out. No Katrina. You know, don't mess up things. I know how to run things. I'm pretty good at but when you get involved, that's when things get messed up. Just stay away. What was that name of that hurricane we had over here 3 years ago? What was that? Sandy, right? There's no Sandys, and I can't go to work now, so I can't make the money. So you stay out. I have my plan. I have things work out when I do it the way I do it. Just don't mess up. Stay out. That's really what they pray for. So there's nature and there's God. And nature, please, you stay out. I know this nature thing. I beat the system. I got to know the system. I can play the system, like we say. Stay out. That's exactly what Dor Enosh did. They were in agriculture. Okay? They were planting. And the sun is the one that gives shine. You know, it helps the things grow. We need water. They said, God, no floods. Don't mess up nature. You know, during the flood, nature was messed up. They said, God, we understand. The flood was later, but in their mindset, that's what they were praying for. God, leave nature as it is. And because nature is so important, we, in a sense, we acknowledge the role of nature in what we do. After all, nature is the one that I need the rain, I need the sunshine, just like he needs his business plan, and he needs his system to get it done. This is what I need to get it done. And you are out of the picture.
Stay out.
Stay out.
Please.
Yes, please, just let things, leave me alone. And essentially, that's the mindset. Hashem created the world. They know Hashem created the world. Look, I'm using the word God. I know, I acknowledge the fact that you created. But how did you create that world that you stay out? And the way the Dor Enosh thought was that's how Hashem created it. That it's impossible for nature to be cracked. It's impossible. The system is foolproof. It's impossible to crack the system. That's the way the Dor Enosh viewed nature and the system of the world. This is a system that is foolproof. So what's wrong with that? Why do we call that Avodah Zarah? Call that Avodah Zarah. They believe in God. There's an expression in Chassidus. It means to say they say He's the God of the gods. What does it mean, the God of the gods? And what does it mean you worship the sun? Worshipping the sun means to say that I'm worshipping the system. What's worshipping mean? Foolproof. Why the sun? He's like the minister. He's providing. He's like the business plan. The sun, the rain, they are the integral components that make things happen. Hashem, you're not within the sun. You delegated to the sun, and now it's the sun. It's my business plan. Really, if you go down to when people pray, you really ask them, what are you praying about? A person has a lot of money and has health. What are you praying? I'm praying Hashem shouldn't make my children sick. Shouldn't mess up. My kids are sick. Everybody's healthy now. Just don't mess it up. Have a good business, making a lot of money. Just don't mess it up. So what are you praying for?
Sometimes things happen.
They're praying, right? So I'm praying this thing shouldn't happen. In other words, I'm praying that you just leave nature. My doctor tells me I have a good record. I shouldn't have a car crash.
Disassociate.
Make sure that I don't have those things that you get involved in, which is breaking the system. Please, I'm praying that you should not do that. Allow the system to run its course. My doctor says I'm good. My accountant said I'm good.
Good.
I'm good. You don't mess up. That's really what they're praying for. If you really think about it, many people pray for that. And that's what we call Avodah Zarah. That's idol worshiper. They say a doctor. Here's another place where we see this. Torah says a doctor can heal. You know how the Torah words that? Nitna reshus l'roife l'rapis. The Torah gave permission to a doctor to heal. He's not a son. Don't worship him.
Sometimes doctors worship themselves.
Right.
They're very arrogant.
Well, you know what? It's not only doctors. It could be an accountant. Any profession of a systemized area in nature, whether there's money, chaim, and there's three areas in life. There's children, livelihood, and health. Okay? Really plays into everything in life. Every area has a system. You have an accountant for money, you have a doctor for health, and then you have nachas. Children is to be held by nachas too. Nachas.
Right, but I mean everything that we're taught, we're not supposed to get wrapped up in ego and this, that, and the other thing. And here, a lot of these doctors or whoever they are, walking around with tons of self-love.
I'm not here to defend the doctor, but what I'm trying to say is not only the doctor. It's an accountant too. It's ourselves. It's in our own mind. It's not just a doctor. In our own mind, that's how we view things ourselves. Think about it. I'm thinking to myself, when I daven and things are good already, what am I really davening for? Sometimes, subconsciously, things are good. So when things are good, that's when we forget. Things are not good, that's when we remember. What does that mean? What does that tell you?
But Rabbi, you can thank God for what you have.
So this is what we're going to get to.
Not say please say everything. That you've been giving a gift. Thank you.
You just use a different word. You use the word the gift is the word you used. You said the word gift, and you said the word thank you. You didn't say the word expected or norm. You said gift and thank you.
Right. There's no entitlement.
That's not the Dor Enosh. That's not the way most people view nature, and that's what we're going to get to. How do we shift from that? In other words, what you're saying is God is within what you have and not only outside of it. That's exactly that's what we're getting to. That's what we're getting to. There's the Dor Enosh, the first generation of idol. Let me just give you how it evolved. Talking about the evolution. This is the real evolution. This is the real evolution of how it happened. First, there was Dar Enish. There were these people that right after the creation of the world, the first thing they did is they said, okay, there's an Eibishter, but he delegated. And you know what evolved from that? The children from them forgot even that there was an Eibishter. As an example given, this is a certain Avodah Zarah that the way they serve it is through a person going to the bathroom on the Avodah Zarah. And the question is, how does that happen? How do you have Avodah Zarah? It's supposed to be like you're worshiping. Why would you do that kind of thing? And the answer given is because, how did this happen? Their parents were so mentally, they were transfixed on the greatness of their idol that they never had time to go to the bathroom. So the children didn't realize what the parents were thinking. They didn't realize there's some kind of mental, recognition that these people have. All they saw is what they saw. So they thought that's what it is. So many times, all they saw, they didn't see the thoughts going through their parents' mind. They just saw that the area of Avodah Zarah was a little bit dirty because people didn't have time to go anywhere, right? So they thought that is what the Avodah Zarah is all about, of actually person leaving out their remains over there. The idea is that in every generation there's an evolvement in the sense of the first generation recognized that Hashem is outside of the picture, but he shouldn't be in. Once you start using the words nature is foolproof, what did children hear? Foolproof. So they say that's a God. So that's how it evolved into real Avodah Zarah, where they actually said there is no God. How did that happen? Think about how did that happen? The world was created with a God. How do you have a world that doesn't recognize a God? It takes time. First they say the God is, and this is within everybody's mind. We all do this in our own minds. First the person says, you can't right away. There's a step-by-step. You can't go over to the person and tell them kill someone. There was a person that came to a rabbi. I'll give you with a joke so you'll get this better. The person comes to the rabbi and tells the rabbi, I did a terrible thing. He says, what happened? I stole a wheel. Big deal. So give back the wheel. No. It was a wheel part of a carriage. So give back the carriage. Rabbi, there was a person in that carriage. Okay, so tell the person to go back. But Rabbi, I killed that person. Okay, so say that you killed a person, right? It takes time till a person evolves and ends up saying what, it can take a few, in the beginning you just steal a wheel, then you steal a carriage, and then you realize, and it evolves. So the same thing with the world. It takes time until a world, which was created by Hashem. So first you say, yeah, Hashem, you just don't know Katrina, no Sandy. You know what, Hashem? No, you really, who? Hashem? It's me. And then the children hear it, and then it becomes basically no Hashem. They say the same thing with the 4 sons. Chacham, Rosh, Tam, right? It takes evolvement. Anyway, so what are we trying to bring out of here? So you have the history, going back to what we're talking about. We have the history of the world. Started off with Dur Enish, that they agreed that Hashem exists, but not in the world, not in the system. Right? So there's deliberate and really where they were kind of ignoring Hashem, was they said, you created it. You're like the creator. But afterwards you have project managers that take care of it. And you're not involved. The son takes care of this. Now, the Yidden in the Midbar, Hashem wanted to make sure that they have the extreme opposite recognition. I want you to realize that no matter what you do, it's all me. No matter what system you create, it's all really mine. I want you, when you go into Eretz Yisrael, I don't want you to make the same mistake as the Darnish. You're going to be going to the land of Israel. You're also going to be doing agriculture. You're going to be plowing the land. I don't want you to make this mistake of thinking that your system is what makes it. I want you to tell me thank you. I want you to give me the first thank you. Bikurim is thank you. The first fruits that come out of the land, you give to me. Not give it to me. It's a recognition of really who nature is. It's a recognition that not that I'm outside of nature, but I'm within nature. How do I give you that recognition? How do I help you get that recognition? Right? How do I help you get that recognition? Even when you're doing something, it's not a real doing. You're going to transparently recognize that it's my doing. There are many ways how we do things.
But why is it he's making them wrong?
It's the walking in the midbar is like a therapy. He's telling you on walking, right? Usually when you walk, it's an effort.
it was like, it's very transparent in the walking that you're not making it happen, right? You're not making it happen.
That's true.
Very transparent to the extent that we can even laugh and joke, oh, he's making it happen. Hashem was, those 40 years, that was an exercise that was given to the Jews. Like you said, to look at nature, it was a mental exercise. The exercise was meant to teach these Jews, I'm going to have you 40 years going through a time when you're going to be doing these things that seem like they're making it happen. But you're going to realize that you're not making it happen. You're going to realize that it's my thing. You happen to be doing something that allows it to come to you through whatever you're doing. But the thing you're doing is not strategically deciding and making it happen. I need you to get this into your consciousness. You're going to be going next 1,000 years in Eretz Yisrael. I need to have a time when I'm slowly going to seep into your consciousness that my existence is not just without, but within. So this was like a little bit of a jokingly kind of effort, specifically designed that way. And it was made and designed that they should have a time when they're kind of doing something. But it's not a real doing that you're going to come home, wow, look what I did. I had such a good strategy today. I went and I got the money. And I made it happen. You come home and you say, no, it wasn't my money. It was Hashem's money. He gave it to me. But yet I have to walk. So when I'm walking, I'm sweating and I'm walking and I'm doing the thing that I need to do to make it happen. So on one hand, I sweated. But that sweat is simply a conduit. You know the example given? It's a beautiful example in Chassidic given for this. When you go to a construction site, you see these beautiful tractors. Beautiful means like complicated, high-tech machines that can cut specific measurements. Have a here. They can really the precision of these machines is amazing. Huge, small machines, big machines. When you walk by the machine, what comes to your mind? Wow, what an amazing machine. Wow, I should send a thank you note to that machine and really, acknowledge the fact that that machine did such a great work. When you walk by a beautiful building, you're probably thinking, oh, that was Alex the machine. Not Alex the person behind who created the machine. Or you're thinking about the creator of the machine. The machine, although it has a complicated mechanism behind it, it's transparently the creator of the machine. A machine doesn't give any room for self-recognition. A machine is doing it. It's a complicated machine. It has to do it. And it's doing something that a man can't do. You need the machine to do it. But full recognition goes to the creator of the machine. When you come by a beautiful building, what do you say? What an architect. What do you mean architect? The architect had to use so many machines. I understand. You have to use machines, but the architect is the chachma behind it. Hashem wants us to recognize what's in the world we live in. And this is like the student and the teacher that we talked about before. Because the world, nature is a mirror. Nature is not a system that's an entity for itself. Almost like the apples and the orange. Back to the apples and oranges. It's not just a story. There's a message. Hashem wanted that when we look at the world, we should realize there's a blueprint. What's the blueprint? We talked about the blueprint. The blueprint is a Torah, right? Idea. The world is not a jungle, it's an idea. So when you go by this beautiful building, what does he want us to realize? Don't get caught up with those machines. There's an idea behind it. Tap into the idea and live the idea, right? This message that we've been talking about until now in all these classes are highlighting how the world is an expression of an idea, how within the world we should find acknowledgement and not find acknowledgement strictly outside of the world, but in the world, right? That's exactly the opposite of Darenish. Let's highlight these two attitudes. Or a doctor. Darenish is like a doctor. It's the same thing. A doctor, an accountant, or any one of us that says this is foolproof. This is how it's gonna. Let me play this out with a doctor. So I bring a practical example. Well, many times when a person came to the Rebbe for a blessing, he said the doctor says, this is what's going to happen. And what should I do? So the Rebbe had a saying he said all the time. He said, A doctor can only heal. He's not there to tell you when a person's going to die. Now, what is it? Now, you can take this in many ways. You can take this and say, okay, so he's giving you words of encouragement. He's being optimistic. No, it's a mindset behind this. What he's telling you is the role of the doctor. The doctor is not a minister in charge of health. And in his hands, how does he know a person's going to die? Based on another person? Therefore. It means to say there's a void over here, there's a system, and the system just runs. There's nothing within it. So you can only tell me, what could you do? The rest you can say you don't know. It's not being an optimist. It's a mindset of how you view the components of what you come into, the systems you come into. The Gemara says, and again, you can take this in many ways, but you can take this as a filu cherev monachas al tzavara, even if a sword. It doesn't have to mean literally. It can mean to say, even if you see something catastrophic about to happen, you can still daven to Hashem. What does that mean? You can still daven to Hashem? Because he's not outside the picture; he's within. So is it a doctor only? Is it an accountant only? Is it anything? Is it the Avodah Zarah in the sense of the Dar Enish, worshipping the sun? It's every single one of us. It's every single one of us. How does this play out with Bashert and hard-earned? Hard-earned means to say effort. Bashert means to say the strategic. What's Bashert? Let's go back to the Bashert. What's Bashert? What's Bashert and what's hard-earned? Does Bashert mean that it's set in motion already to happen? What does Bashert mean? Bashert means destiny in English. How does that play out? So how does destiny play out, and how does hard-earned play out? Hard-earned, yeah, hard-earned. Yeah.
So predetermined, can you say something that is destined to happen? Means that there is a creator and there is a plan. So
when I come into a picture, when do I say the word Bashert? When I'm coming into a situation.
Yeah.
A situation, right?
Yeah.
And I'm facing a situation and decision.
Yeah.
When do I use the word Bashert?
At what point?
Yeah.
After the fact? Or in the current situation?
After the fact. The doctor's going to say, it's Bashert, he's going to die. Who are you to tell me it's Bashert, he's going to die? Going to die, Bashert? You are not Bashering what's happening.
Right.
You are only there to do whatever you can do. Bashert is only after the fact. So that's number one.
Right.
Now, why do we say it after the fact? Why do we say it was a mistake? How does that play out?
Because if you decide that it's Bashert in the moment, then that's turning yourself into a robot.
You're not a robot.
But you're becoming a robot if you
say that, is it right? So how does that work out? Remember we talked about, and this is how it plays out. This is important. Number one, it shouldn't be Bashert for the future because we have to work. There's 6 days and there's a 7th day. Okay. The 7th day there was the midbar and there was going into Eretz Yisrael. There's a teenager and there's going into real life. Okay. Teenager can get the comfort and security and confidence to actually go ahead and work in their own life and the tools to actually work and the means to actually do it. But he has to actually go ahead and push and do in order to make it happen. But he's going to recognize that it's because of the security and his mother's behind him and his parents are behind him. You know, as much as you can apply the same example to it, they're there to help you in those steps. Obviously, eventually you wean off your parents. It's not exactly the same thing, but in the sense of there is a combination of tools between the two layers. So how does it work in Bashert? It's the same idea. When a person goes into any situation, Hashem has a purpose for every single individual. Just like the world is a mirror, each one of us have a purpose. The world is a blueprint, there's a Torah, there's a purpose. It's not a jungle. Each one of us have a purpose. The student in the classroom who got the apples and the oranges, Bunch of students sitting there in the math lesson. There's a purpose, there's an idea of math that's trying to come down into these apples. Some students get it more, some students are still counting their fingers and they still don't know how to count. Some students actually can see 1 + 1 is 2 and they're advanced. But there's an idea that's trying to penetrate into all these students. Everybody's trying to get it. So one student just eats an apple and says, oh, it was a good apple. Next time he's going to get it with the orange. He's going to eventually, the idea is going to penetrate into his mind. It takes time. The idea is a lifetime to penetrate, right? The Bashert is the purpose. It's going to penetrate. Somehow or another, that idea is going to penetrate. It's going to happen. That idea is going to happen. It's up to us to make it happen. Okay? That idea is going to... There are no other ideas in the world besides ideas Hashem put in there. So don't think there's going to be any other ideas. You're in a classroom of math, you're going to get math. You're not going to get science. You're going to be eating maybe apples, oranges, pears, and bananas until you finally realize it's all part of the math lesson. These are all different things the teacher puts on the floor for you to eventually get this is a math lesson going on. Fine. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. How long will it take you to make it happen? So when we make a mistake, it's also Bashert. If it happened, it's Bashert. But it doesn't take away from the fact that you have to get closer. You ate an apple. They say every mistake, as long as you repeat the same mistake, you're good. So you're getting closer to the real. That's what a question is. A question is bankruptcy, or a question is a step closer to the answer. What's a question? Peeling away a layer of resistance that you had to this idea that's trying to penetrate into your mind. You're sitting in that classroom and you're thinking, oh, the apple was red. No, I see it's not red because there's a banana also. So the apple is maybe orange, is round. No, the banana, you're trying to get to an idea. So first you start shapes, you start colors, you start taste, then you realize, oh, it's an idea. Now I got it. So when you were saying shapes, were you like totally not in the idea? You were getting closer. You were getting closer. Every mistake, you got closer. Eventually, you're going to see how those mistakes got you closer and why, or maybe you won't see, or it doesn't make a difference. But you have to be focused on getting closer to the idea. Some people naturally have to go through certain steps because of where their mind was originally. They were into shapes, so they had to get out of shapes, get into colors, and then they realize there's an idea, and they got it, and now they see everything, and now everything, flows. Fine. So Bashert is the purpose behind the world. The hard-earned is we have to realize there's a purpose. And we're going towards that purpose. So the hard-earned is like almost like in the midbar. We're working, but towards a pre-designed purpose. That's the concept behind the midbar. The purpose that we're working towards, we have to recognize Hashem said it already. We're not making a purpose. We're not deciding a purpose. In the next class, we're going to get into more what's the mindset that brings you to this. Till now, we've simply went through a historical overview of Dar Enish, of the Midbar, of going into Eretz Yisrael, of how a person, if you want to summarize what we learned today, what we did today is we went through the 2 steps of the Dar Enish versus the Dar Midbar. Dar Enish is the Avodah Zara, that worshipping sun mindset. They're not just historically, they're today too, right? It's 2 paradigms of how we look at the world, which is really today too. The doctor who says, you will die, or the person who says, this will happen, this is how it will be, right? And then the paradigm of the midbar, which they recognize, no, I'm not there to decide. It's going to happen. The one is happening anyway. There's a purpose to this world. And I'm there to work towards that purpose. And that's the paradigm of an axe in the hand of a woodcutter is really just like a machine. I gave the example of a machine, the simple example, the loosely translated example is axe in the hand of a woodcutter. But if you want to make it more practical, you can say the same thing with a machine. Because people say, what's the big deal about an axe? Who's going to think? No, make it a complicated high-tech machine. It's the same thing. A high-tech machine. But who do you think? Who do you really see in that machine? The creator of the machine. When you see the building, you see the architect. Yeah.
The amount that someone travels for the month, is that something that and even it applies to now. Is that something that's in our control, or is that something that's predestined already according to the level of righteousness that we're born with?
No, that's in our control. That's in our control.
So if somebody like
Because
does tshuva to become more righteous, that means
That's right.
that
That's right. So they can actually grow and make it happen faster. The amount of mistakes we make is in our control. Very good question. The amount of mistakes we make is in our control. The purpose we'll come to, Hashem sets. He tells us the purpose. The same purpose in the world. It's all the same purpose.
Can I ask you a question? Like, for example, bring in like, the Zusha, for example, like a very good person, but always like suffering. So wasn't it like his neshama that took upon itself before this world to like suffer? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, because is there a way that he could have ever gotten out of
The suffering.
Yeah.
He didn't say suffering.
Right. He never suffered. It's true. I know. It's like ironic, but do you understand what I'm saying? It's like that. It's like that was that reality. That destiny was the reality. It was like the shirt for him, specifically because he didn't consider it suffering. But was it changeable? Like was there actually? Could he really change his muzzle with that?
Can a person change their mazel from? There's going to be yes, there are ways a person can change their mazel. After all, there are stories where a person. There are two ways a person can change their mazel. This is going to be later on. There's a blessing of a tzaddik, which Rajusa was himself was a tzaddik, so obviously he felt he doesn't need it or whatever it is. Or tzaddik himself was something scam blood, something else. And then it could also be something super deed that a person does. There are ways that a person can change. We use the word mazel, which is a word I didn't use yet, which mazel really means to say nature of a person. I mean, if you want to take it in simple terms, you can say a person is not so smart. Can he become smart? Same question. Mazel is really nature. The same thing. Just like you have mazel in a person's person being smart, kind. Right? It's mazel. Yesh mazel Yisrael. It also means a personal nature. You also have mazel in the sense of kind of destiny. It's also destiny in the sense of if you're born smart or not, right? If you're born with a certain function, I'm not born, I'm not gifted, right? So we use the word mazel, gifted. It's not me, but you could become it, right? There isn't faith. So the same thing applies also in the areas of health and these kind of areas, where although a person is born with something, there is an ability to go out of it. That could be two ways. Either a tzaddik or a person's own deed. And we're going to get to what a tzaddik does, hopefully in the next class or the last one, and how a tzaddik can break through and help me skip some mistakes, if you wish, or I can myself, through doing some super deed, can push myself quicker to get to a quicker, to sprint a little bit, instead of walking.
Wormhole.
But isn't it true that I just read this the other day, but Abraham, Hashem said he didn't even look at the stars. He actually looked above the whole, the world and creation and the stars, meaning Mazel, and said, "You're above this." So is it got to be some super deed? Is it something that
you bring up
it's just because we're the Jewish neshama is actually that's what I got. I think it was in the hyena.
That we don't have any mazel. Is that what you read? That
we're
Abraham
above mazel
right,
but that doesn't mean we have to do a super. I don't know if it's a super. I don't know. That's what I'm asking. Is that a super deed? Because I know
very good question.
The hairpin of the bride that was going to be killed. That's what they use as an example. But
no, very good question. You're asking a question, and I'll paraphrase it. Ein mazel l'Yisrael. The Gemara says there is no mazel. There is no such thing as saying that I have my mazel and you have your mazel. So I'm making a combination of the two questions. On one hand, there is a nature, there's a kind of predisposed something that you can anticipate, but on the other hand, it's not set in stone. So ein mazel Yisrael. And this combination of how I can get out of certain things that seem to be I'm predisposed to, we talked about it in the past a little bit, but we're going to get to it more. That's where it goes to these two areas, how we can skip it. Tzaddik. That's what's the idea of a bracha. A bracha means it's coming from above. Tefillah means I'm breaking through my prayer. A bracha means bless. We'll talk about it. Yaakov gave the blessings to Ephraim and Menashe. Brachas have their limitations. He couldn't give a bracha to the wrong person. He had to give the bracha to the right person because he had to get whatever that means. And tefillah has its, limitations in the sense, but tefillah is usually stronger than brachas. But tefillah you can do anything. Tefillah you can break through any barrier. When you do something super, when you push yourself beyond what you could, you're able to break any kind of barrier. Simply to make someone who had 70 years to live, make it into 71. That's the kind of power a person has with tefillah. So, ein mazel Yisrael. There is no mazel. But this is a longer conversation, and we'll get into it more in the following. First, I want to give the paradigm of what's going on over here. Yes, you have this Bashert. Bashert really means there's a purpose. And I have the hard-earned, which is getting me towards a purpose. Now we're going to start talking about, so what's predisposed, what's not predisposed. What does it mean that I can break through? What does it mean I can't break through it? Right? And this is going to have to do with what we can do and what others can do for us. It's very similar to the teacher and student. The student, a lot of it is his own effort, but a lot of it is also the hints that he gets from the teacher. And a lot of it is also friends. Yeah, you have different ways of how the student advances their work. We'll finish with this. I'm already over time. Apologize.